Hello, people. Yo, it's spooky October month time, and we're going to keep on track with our foreign films today. I am JP Cerno, and I am joined with the lovely gallery right here, El Don Dino, Jason Eccles, and live from Puerto Rico is Steve Dales.
Arriba, arriba, arriba.
And I totally just dropped my phone. And so what we're watching today, or what we watched today, was Guillermo del Toro's Pan's Labyrinth. That was my choice of film. I don't think it's anyone's first viewing for this movie. This is perhaps my third viewing, and it's the story is about a little girl named Ofelia who moves to the countryside with her stepfather, with her mother Carmen, and this is in Spain. This is a period piece. This is a period movie. This is post the Civil War, but there still is a fraction of a rebellion going on in the mountains in which the stepfather, who is a captain of a troop there to fight off what do you call it? Guerrilla groups? Yes, the rebels.
Yeah.
And so the film is not only a historical piece, but it's also a fantasy movie. And the story it's literally an A-B storyline. There's two stories going on at once. My choice, the reason why I picked this one is that I figure it's a very suitable film for it since it is October, it's Halloween, it's spooky, but it's also like I wanted to see how it held up, not only with special effects, but also the story. Because I know when I first saw it, I was very hesitant because I was not a big horror fan. So I went in the first time watching it as, oh, this is going to be horror. But it turns out it's much more than that. It's a beautiful work of art. I mean, you basically, if you're familiar with Del Toro's work, especially in Hellboy, you get a lot of that in this film. So my first impressions, visually, it is beautiful. The story is very complicated. I mean, it's not too complicated. We'll probably delve into that later on during the discussion. But yeah, like it's beautifully told. There's so much going on, and you as the audience, you gotta get to pick how the story ends in a way, or what happened in the story. And not a lot of movies these days do that. Most of it is just very straightforward, and it's basically spoon feeding the audience. But this one decided, it's like, what really happened? So I want to see what your guys' first take on this movie. We'll start with El Dandino.
Hello. Hola, amigos y amigas. Yeah, I think last time when you had mentioned this was the film we're doing, I remember that when the movie came out, I was really excited for it. And for Christmas, I bought this movie for my brother, and he bought the same movie for me. So it was the funniest.
Aww.
Like I opened it and I just started laughing. He's like, "What? You already own it?" I was like, "No, go ahead and open yours." So it's just the type, like the type of movies we like. So yeah, I had seen this maybe a couple times before. It's I like it even more seeing it after all these years, and with a different kind of view. When I was going into it, not so much like you. I think that you said maybe the expecting more horror or whatever. I was expecting more fantasy, right? I didn't realize they were gonna stay in the grounded world that long. I thought it was gonna be an escape, almost like Alice in Wonderland. But it was more like, oh no, we're gonna show you about fascists and all this thing, and so watching it now, I definitely liked it even more. Um, the first time when I was watching it, I think I was expecting more Guillermo del Toro type of Hellboy, a little, some humor in there with the monsters and stuff like that, and didn't really have any of that. But I'm glad you mentioned about like it really allows the audience to decide what happens. Because watching it now, I was like, oh my god, there's so many moments in the film where you can kind of be like, what does this mean? What is that? Right. And then especially in the ending, it's really up to you to decide what happened. So definitely for a viewing after, I don't know, is it almost 20 years now that the movie came out?
Oh, dang, I didn't even take a look at that. Let's see.
Yeah,
It'll be almost 20 years, close to.
Yeah, 2006.
Oh,
So
okay.
14 years.
Yeah. So yeah, so I definitely enjoyed it. I had liked it back then, but I like it even more now. It has so many more levels to it that maybe as a younger Dino, I didn't really appreciate. Gotta fight fascism, you know.
Very chill, and now more than ever. What about you, Jason? What you thought about the movie?
My second time watching it, I enjoyed it probably even more on my second viewing because, you either don't remember or you miss stuff the first time around. You know what I realized? Because it's interesting you said how the movie holds up or would it hold up. And I think this movie is so visually beautiful and stunning to look at. And it's a work of art. Like just flat out. I mean, it's probably a masterpiece as well. You know what I mean? Like I think most people will watch it and say it's a masterpiece. Like even if you don't like the movie or the subject matter, just what it is and like the amount of thought and creativity and how everybody had to be spot on to create this thing. The visual effects to me still hold up brilliantly. I mean, just beautiful stuff. Like really, I was about to say really like museum worthy, but then I remember there's actually an exhibition of it, that was going around. I didn't get a chance to check it out, but I remember there is. So obviously, like just very deep levels of creativity from this from Del Toro. I mean, my goodness. And then he just kind of puts his own thing on top of this story, and it fits brilliantly. Like if anything, he was sort of born to make this movie, I think. It's a powerful piece. I could talk all day just about the lighting, the cinematography. I mean, all that's just gorgeous. I love the subject matter. I kind of like anything dealing with World War II. I mean, anything good, obviously, because that war has so many different sides to it and so many different stories. And it went on for, a long enough time, and it was very complex, and technology, was starting to evolve in a very quick way. I love this movie very much, and I think it was a good pick.
Yeah, totally. I agree. Like this time around watching it, like I kind of forgot how important the history was during that time, and like how much of the B story was pretty much like anything that happened in the A story also happened in the B story its own way. I guess we'll go on to further discuss about that later on. But what about you, Des? What you thought of the film?
Yo, so this is probably going to be the first and maybe the last time that I talk in this recording. I actually wasn't able to see the film, unfortunately.
Oh, no.
Just because, again, I've been traveling, too many things, hassle. Now the internet is like messing up. That's why you don't see my face. So I've had all sorts of issues that you have when you travel across or outside of the country, you could say. I'm dealing with that. So until I'm not officially settled and have working, running internet that I'm not stealing right now from a bank, then I am going to have some challenges watching some films. But I'm looking forward to get sold of this film by you guys. So far, I've been hearing great things.
Yo, do they got Puerto Rico Redbox? Well, then, yeah, they probably got Redbox. It's still the U.S. It's still America.
It's coming in 2 more years.
Very chill, very chill. Okay, since we actually kind of both, like, all three of us talked about it, I guess I kind of want to save this question for later, but let's talk about the A story and the B story. The A story, it focuses more on Ofelia because we learn really soon in the movie, even in the start of the movie, she's very much a reader. She loves books. She loves fantasy. And that's part of the mystery of the story is like, is this part of her books? Like, is her story from what she's reading or not? And so we do have the fantastical elements from her point of view. She has to do 3 tasks at hand in order to become a supposed princess of this underground world that she discovered. But also the B story is basically what's happening in the real world during this post-Civil War in Puerto Rico, in Spain. I'm not
Hey,
racist.
man. Hey, man.
I'm not racist, I swear. I'm not racist.
So your question is,
So I guess my question is
Puerto Rico is not the underworld.
it's the upside down world, right?
I guess if you ask any like person in the US maybe, but I do not share that opinion. Puerto Rico is definitely not the underground world. It is fucking rad. And I hope to one day visit once Des opens the first fucking comedy club in Puerto Rico.
Pew, 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 pew.
But anywho, sorry for my flub. But I guess my question is, did you guys think that both the A story and the B story like coincided pretty evenly with each other? And did you guys actually have a preference towards any one of the stories?
You know what? I had a preference toward the fantasy or horror version. I thought they were both very good, but that was. I find myself like waiting for that to emerge every time. You know what I mean? Like, when are we going to go back to that world? Like, because it's so fantastical, and it's so eye popping, and it just makes you feel like you're almost watching another movie entirely. Yeah. So I was definitely partial to the. I guess I don't know which one's the A story, which one's the B story.
I guess that's a fair question because like I always assume since Ofelia is the protagonist,
Yeah.
her story is the A story. But like Mercedes and Carmen, they share a good amount of time, and like you get to learn like their troubles and their what they're going through as well. So why aren't they the protagonists? I mean, sure, the story mostly focuses around Ofelia. It even starts with her and basically ends with her as well. But no, I think that's a fair question. Like, I guess that's really up to the person. But I would personally say that the fantasy world is the A story, since it is Ophelia's story, and Ophelia's story does take not most part, but in part in the real world. Like she does suffer real world consequences because of the fantasy story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say that's probably accurate.
I would have liked to see a little more of the fantasy world, like that guy, right?
You mean Mitch McConnell?
Yeah, like you see stuff, the frescoes and stuff like that painted on the wall. So and you see the pile of kid shoes. So it's like you get a picture, but it's like I wanted to get a little more of it all flushed out. Like, who are these characters? Like,
Right.
why? That being said, I had a lot of this movie I had kind of blocked away, and I don't know if that's mainly because the El Capitan is so freaking evil. Like rewatching it, I was like, man, talk about just a horrible evil man. Like it made me think of Christoph Waltz in Inglourious Bastards. And like this was done before, right? Like and like in Spanish, like just hearing it again and like this is one bad guy and it's in Spanish and it's really well acted and like the lines that he had like I forgot how well acted it was overall and how such a horrible bad guy he was that I kind of like I was like I almost shudder from like seeing him like especially later on in the movie like oh it just so definitely Ofelia was definitely the A story plot and she kind of actually she was a connection between the A story and the B story, right? She was the connection of both. So yeah, that kind of is what I thought of it. But I wish I would have seen that. I almost feel like I don't know if the budget was running out or what. But like in Hellboy 2, when they go into that other world, I feel like that was what's at the end of the labyrinth. You know what I mean? Because it's like a lot of his monsters are similar. A lot
Yeah.
of them deal with the eyes and stuff like and the wings, and so I just felt like then when I saw Hellboy 2, I was like, oh, this is where Ofelia ended up.
Like that's where she ended up ruling for centuries.
Yeah,
For sure, because
yeah.
I do remember seeing Hellboy 2, the golden, what's it called, the
Golden Army.
Golden Army, and I like all the monsters there. Is like I bet if he had the choice, he would have definitely had those guys creeping in, like be one of the tasks that Ophelia had to go through. But I guess when I watched it, it was weird because like my first time watching it, I was so enthralled with the fantasy elements that I actually kind of forgot about the real world elements. So I was actually more captivated by that because that was almost new to me during this most recent watch of the film. And like yeah, no, like the captain, like I guess like you like yeah, everyone knows fashion. If you're a fascist, you're probably a fucking asshole. But he seems to like just literally live and revel in that, and like even the fact that and his whole obsession with time and the watch and what it means to be a son and what it means to be a father, like because when you think about it, that's very much basic authoritarianism. Like everything has to be exact, like he has to be in charge. And like sure, in his history tells us that Spain would be a fascist regime for another, I think, 3 to 4 decades after this film. So like we don't know the stories of the rebels. We don't know what happened to them in history during that time. But like because of the captain's beliefs, he ends up getting fucking just biting at the end, which is a fucking great scene. Especially when he did such a good job of being a fucking asshole. It's like once he gets his comeuppance, it's like, fuck yeah.
That was probably one of the most satisfying, and like just to not like, but yeah, that response, the end with him, and like him trying to talk about his son and how that ends up happening, is one of the most rewarding moments, I feel like, of just like what a good way to end this character,
Right.
story wise. I did notice there's in a lot of Guillermo del Toro's movies, there's a lot of watches or gears mechanism and time in a lot of his movies play. It's a lot of time, a lot of life or eternal life, if you will, and not just in Hellboy, but it's also fitting in and feeling left out, even in Shape of Water, right? That's all also like people that are ostracized or not part of are feeling like strangers and stuff like that. And yeah, even the part where Capitan Vidal, where he was staying at, I feel like it was the old mill or whatever, because you see all the giant in the background, just a giant gears that I guess was part of the mill, and he's constantly cleaning that watch, right? He's constantly just like making sure that it keeps running, right? So I thought that imagery, definitely things that the first time just I wasn't really paying attention to it that much, but there's so much about time and what do you do during your time and what you're gonna leave behind and that kind of thing. I have a question.
Oh, go for it.
This might, and my
Question.
what? Okay, this is my question. Did the fantasy world actually happen, or is it only in Ophelia's head?
I think that's everybody's question, isn't it?
Yeah, I was gonna save that
After you watch it.
later. Yeah, but
Oh, sorry. I mean, we can go back to it
no,
later
like
if
we
you
could
have.
totally, because like it is a big part of the film, and like it's I think Guillermo I'm sure he has his own take on it, but even in the film, like it's done in such a way where you do question whether or not, like especially in the end when you find out that whoever she sees or whatever she's talking to, only she can see him, and
Mhm.
whether or not that is true, you kind of, it does the movie doesn't really say. And especially since it does seem like it starts with a narrator and it ends with the same narrator, and you don't know whether or not this person is narrating a book that she's reading or if the narrator is actually narrating what just happened. um I feel like in the film, like there's so many coincidental things, like the chalk, the key, the mandrake root, that do appear in the real world, and our real world characters in this mill, like they do see him as well. And like I think that's almost enough proof to argue that what Ophelia did go through was in fact, although pure fantasy, was actually reality. But the cynic in me wants to believe that it's like, nah, she was just going crazy and she was just trying to cope with the disasters of this world, like, because in even though it is, one could argue that it is coping, like her fantasy was pretty fucked up as well. It was crazy enough where she perceived that she was threatened, like her life was about to emerge in both real and fantasy. But it's where I think the cynic in me wants to believe that it was fake, but after watching it this time around, even though I was more focused on what was happening in real life, I think I was convinced, like, no, like, I think a part of it was real. Like, real enough where, like it did happen.
I feel like it was happening too. I felt like that the first time. I felt like that this time. Um, it's one of those things where when I watch a movie, I'm kind of okay with it being either or. I don't try to put too much of myself on a movie where it's like, oh no, it's like this, and let me justify it because it's clear the director's intention is for this discussion to happen, right? Did it happen or didn't it happen? Like he might have his own take on it, but he was deliberately unclear. So my takeaway from watching it is to not stress myself out too much about it. I try to just like, all right, this is what he's projecting to me. I'm not going to try to put any of my own stuff on it, which is hard for me a lot of times because I do bring my own stuff to the cinema. But and sometimes that's what makes the movie better for me. And like, oh, great, because I applied my own thinking. But um, he's such Del Toro is such a
Toro.
Toro, my bad. Del Toro is such a masterful auteur, such a masterful director that he's only showing you what he wants you to see, right? Um, and so I'm okay with not knowing the answer, but I believe, at least I want to believe, that it was really happening
Yeah, I think
as
that shock.
both worlds.
Yeah, I think that shock is probably one of the biggest things that it was real. Like, how'd she get out of that room, right? I feel
Yeah.
like that's the biggest thing.
But I think he
Um,
purposely made it so that we didn't get to see that. Like we've
right.
seen her
So
use the
yeah.
chalk before, but it's like in that one moment where like it would have for sure definitely be like that's real. He chose not to show it.
Also, I don't know if you guys saw at the end, but one of the producers is also Alfonso Cuarón, which I just thought
Gosh,
is
That's right.
gravity.
awesome. That
I did
they're
notice that.
that they're like BFS, or that it's just
They're
I
working
don't know,
together.
like Lucas Spielberg or Scorsese, kind of that relationship of just like supporting each other. Um, yeah, I forgot how good of a movie it was for some reason, and it might just be because of the traumatic, horrible bad guy that I was just like, like I don't want to ever see this movie again. But it's a great movie. I just remember, yeah, having to see that bad guy and being like, I don't want any of that.
Hmm.
Yeah. I guess to like continue on the conversation, like it's so weird how, like, yes, the movie is rated R, but because of fantasy elements, I feel like if you have a mature enough child, you could definitely like enjoy this movie with a young person. But this film has extreme violence in both the real world and the fantasy world. So I guess like, what was your guys' take on the violence of the movie? Because like it was very much like it did not hold back, even when it came to I like retribution or like more satisfying moments of violence, especially when Mercedes finally like stands up for herself and like, well, she not finally stands up for herself. She was always standing up for herself, but before the captain gets fucking murked, like he gets a few cuts right before then, and that was, I'll admit, that was the most, for me, the most reaction I got, especially with this fucking cut on his mouth. And like, I don't know if it was practical or not. And if it was practical, it's probably was very hard to pull off. But that was so good. Like you get to see his reaction towards having that cut, and also just seeing what the cut does physically. It leaks out alcohol when he's drinking. It still bleeds in scenes,
Yeah,
you
that
know,
was
and
gross.
he
It
even
was a
tries
very
to
clean
stitch it
cut,
up.
though. It was a very clean cut, because and I guess that's where it was probably like the rated R thing was like, you can't like have it clean. If you're just bleeding nonstop there, then it's gonna be an NC-17. You know what I mean? Like that was like, out of all the injuries and all the things, that's like, wait, that gash is clean. That gash, like. But yeah, the graphics, the I want to say little CGI. The CGI that was used, like it was just to enhance what was already there, and like
Yeah.
the practical aspects of it.
And for 2006, like it was pretty damn good. Because like the film I could think of that had the most CGI was 2005, Star Wars, and I don't think all of the CGI in that movie held up well at all.
The prequel Star Wars have not, CGI wise, I don't think have held up at
Yeah.
all. And part of it is Guillermo del Toro prefers to do more practical stuff, monsters, everything, and adds what needs to be added for like a little like icing on the top, and not the cake. You can't have a cake all of icing.
That's
It's not gonna hold, and you're
for
gonna
sure.
die. So you just need that extra little line of icing. It's like a tres leches. You know what I mean? Like he really loads up the tres leches, and not just like, here's the icing.
For sure.
I dug the violence. I thought it was
Yeah.
really cool. It reminds you pretty quick. Whenever there's a kid in the movie, you think it's also a kid movie, but it reminds you pretty quick, like, this isn't really a kid movie. Not at all, actually. It
But
just has a kid in it.
yeah, and it was horrible times, right? Like
Mhm.
it also shows both sides kind of did the same thing. No survivors,
Mhm.
right? I think
Yeah,
that was
that
a
was
very telling point, where it's like when the army goes around, and if any, like, even if they were dead, they were doing headshots. Like people are dead or not moving, and I was like, to make sure, it's like headshot, 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 and then you see the rebels do the same thing. Like that guy looks dead, but I'm gonna headshot regardless, because
Mhm.
win one. I don't know if they think zombies or what are gonna get up and come after them, but like, and it was definitely a thing that both sides were kind of like, no, this is real. I had no idea it was rated R, or I just didn't think of it, and I'm thinking like, well, how much worse is this than the Never-Ending Story, really, guys? Of sadness for little kids.
Betrayed.
Other than, I guess, other than the blood in it, I didn't see
The
much
violence.
region. Yeah, but
There were no
rated
headshots in
R.
Never-Ending Story. Not one. I counted. There's not one.
But the horse. That is the saddest. They don't kill a horse in
Kids
this
can do it
movie.
sad. We're talking about violence.
Yeah. And even like violence caused purely by circumstance, like I was surprised at how much blood they showed for the mother's complications during the pregnancy. Not even during birth, just like before she was giving birth, like she was bleeding like everywhere. Like holy shit, that was crazy.
I'm surprised the captain, like Carmen. No, Carmen was the mom. Mercedes.
Yeah, Carmen was the mom and Mercedes was the.
Mercedes got some really good ones on him, and then he still made it through. And I was like, and his shirts was bloody, and I'm like, how is he still going?
Right.
Like he just like she just like and 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 he was still able to just walk around and like do
there's a deleted scene where he's sewing up his back with a back scratcher.
Could be, man. I needed whatever that was in that aguardiente, you know what I mean? Just like drink. Aguardiente is firewater. Is that what it was? Did you translate it in English? What when they called he was drinking? What did they translate it, Jason?
I mean, did they say firewater? Firewater?
No, I think they literally just said alcohol. Like I don't recall them being specific in the English subbing, because I think this film didn't get English dub. I think it was just purely subtitles.
Yeah, no English dub for this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't remember firewater being the word, but in Spanish they said firewater, huh?
Aguardiente, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, let's.
The doctor. There were great lines. And some of the best lines came from were the final lines of the characters. They had great outlines, I guess, right? Outros to characters that were just like, about following rules and following orders and like standing up and just
Guillermo knew how to close a character real good. Because I do remember that the doctor's final line too. Like, it was really. You go ahead because you brought it up, but I thought it was really great as well.
I'm just thinking of it in Spanish. Like I can't. I don't know how it was. Do you remember, Jason, in English with the subtitles? Because mine had Spanish subtitles, so I didn't.
Oh, okay.
With the English ones, but
I don't remember.
I believe the doctor said along the lines of like you, Captain, like you are asking me to do something without question, to only obey. That is something a person only you can do, Captain. Which is again reflective of the the fascism and authoritarianism, because he was basically asked to fucking keep the stutterer alive just so he could suffer some more. But he, as a doctor, that's not in his practice, So he's not gonna blindly take orders just because he's being told to do so.
That's right, because it was like, why did you disobey my order?
Yeah.
And it was about orders. Like, you take and give orders. Oh, yeah, I forgot. Yeah, the stutter. I'm glad you brought that up, because how evil is that? If you can count to 3.
It's pretty cruel.
That's where it was a little like Christoph Waltz also, right?
Yes.
Like the whole, it reminded me of the whole like drinking the milk in the cottage.
I think you always have to have like a Nazi torture scene, you know what I mean? Like, because I think that's like the maniacal nature of like fascism, you know what I mean? Like it's a wicked game, right? Like no matter what way you look at it, it's like that's the bad side, And I think for it to work, because a lot of movies do that, where they have the Nazi play like a maniacal game that the person can't win. And they're always playing for like the ultimate prize, right? Their life, or the life of someone around them. It's Sophie's Choice. Like, you know what I mean? It's always like this game just to kind of like play with people and torture humanity, in a way.
Even to like people who did no wrong, like the farmer and his son, where he literally just murks 2 generations worth of family over fucking rabbits.
Yeah.
Well, no, and then he tells them like, do your job. Like, you know, it was like, make sure you check the stuff before you call me kind of thing. Like,
Mhm.
you know, because they're going through the bag of like, oh, there were rabbits. It's like, fucking do your job. Don't call me. Like, these two people would still be alive if you hadn't called me kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Yes, just like evil incarnate, man.
Just no value for human life. And I think if you're making a Nazi movie or a fascist movie, I think you sort of have to have one of those. You know what I mean? Like just one of those moments. Otherwise, you're like, well, what was your weird Nazi torture moment? You know, it's like one of those things, I think.
And then it's the idea of who he can take advantage of, right? And who he can
Oh yeah, for
show
sure.
power. Because with the
Exploit.
doctor, right? And then
Oh.
even like didn't really get to do anything with Mercedes, but the people that finally did stand up or did show up to him type of thing, like with the doctor, he with those few lines, and then the doctor just like, I'm just gonna walk away from you. Like that's where he lost control. All the other times, him like torturing him like with the farmers and all that, it's him at his truest self, right? Just like people fearing him taking advantage of all that. But the moment someone stands up to him, he loses power. And that's what would, you know, that's what just triggered him above all else. And then at the very end, the last, you know, part of power is no one remembering you.
Right? Yeah, that was another good outline.
Autocrats, dictators, it's all about holding power, it's all about image, and it's all about being remembered, right? And that's, you know, very powerful when someone's like, nope, nope. Can you nope? Nope. I just want him nope. Can you nope? Yeah. Because I think the whole thing is, yeah, his little watch from his dad and all that. It's like he didn't want to go out like his dad, right? I think that was a big thing with him. Like my watch is not gonna break, and the idea of he had the moment where he could break his watch, of the idea of like the dad breaking the watch so they would know what time he died, right? And him having that moment where it's like, I can break it. There are moments where he's like, I can break it, and was just like, no, I'm too big for this. I'm not gonna die. You know, that invisible, you know, being invincible. That again, power hungry people never think they're gonna be taken out. Franco, you know, the dictator in Spain, Stroessner, the dictator in Paraguay, never thought they were gonna be taken out, and they did. They were. Down with fascism.
Down with fascism. Fuck fascism.
Just to point out, fascism is bad. Nazis are bad. Fascism is bad.
But it will get you gold at the Oscars.
Murdering kids, bad.
Oh my gosh. No, like it's so crazy because like, and it's such a contrast to like what Ofelia has to go through in the fantasy realms, where one could say like, sure, like we don't know what the Fawn's intentions are, and he does look kind of menacing in a way due to his like physique and design, but you kind of trust him enough where it's like he's probably much better than anybody that she actually knows right now. And then we could also debate that the fucking the pale man, like it's just a monster out of nature, you know. Like sure, it eats and kills fucking kids and fairies, but it fucking pale man needs to eat too. But like, shoot, I literally had a segue to this, but now it fucking went away.
They keep wanting Guillermo del Toro to do movies in English. They want to. One of the things is they they were gonna double the budget if he were to do the movie in English.
Pan's Labyrinth in English?
Yeah.
It would not. I don't think it would have been the same. No, they would have. They would have found a way to fuck it up. They would have Pacific Rimmed that fucking movie.
Pacific Rim 2. I like the first one.
Did he direct Pacific Rim?
Yeah, he directed the first one. Yeah.
And maybe
Okay,
the
yeah,
second one too.
I didn't see it.
I mean, it's a chill movie, but it's definitely like one of those things. Like, really, a kaiju movie? A very quirky, lighthearted. Well, not lighthearted, but it was campy enough.
Such a great cast, man.
Yeah.
It was like Hellboy-ish with bigger budget, right?
Yeah.
And, and they had Charlie Day.
I was gonna say, and instead of Seth MacFarlane, it had Charlie Day in it.
and it's still, and they had Idris Elba and
that's right.
Oh the girl from the last movie from Babel was in it.
Yeah, she's
the Japanese girl.
Riku or Riki or whatever.
Yeah.
And I believe one of the actors in this film, I think it might be the stutterer actually. I could be wrong. He was also in a film that we also reviewed, The Platform. I think he was in that one.
Who was he in that? Do you know?
I think he plays the main character in that one. I could be wrong.
Well, I know Guillermo del Toro uses a lot of. He likes to work with same actors, like with Ron Perlman.
Ron Perlman and Doug Jones, who plays both the Fawn and the Pale Man. Which I did not look this up, but does Doug Jones actually know Spanish?
Maybe. Doug.
I don't know.
I watched Doug Narinas in Espanol. Doug in Spanish.
Oh gosh. I mean, either way, like if he knew Spanish or not, like I couldn't tell I try to like look at the Fawn's dubbing because it is voiced over, and that's basically that man's career. Is like every role that he does, if it's in makeup, it's not his voice.
Except for Hellboy 2. I think from what I remember, they actually let him do voice.
Oh, really? Shoot, and he had a big role in that film, so.
I saw that earlier today when I was doing a little Guillermo del Toro research.
Gotcha.
He was allowed, because in the first one they do Fraser's brother voices Abe Sapien, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think you're correct.
Yeah. Anyway, okay. So sorry, we were getting a little off topic.
Just a little bit.
It's all kind of like Guillermo del Toro world, right? Like there are filmmakers that it's like this could be all in the same universe, right?
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, his imagination is so specific and so deep and rich that he creates these worlds with these stories and these characters, creatures that look a certain way, and all that's just wonderful storytelling and world building, and I love it. Like if that's the kind of directing I never really thought for myself or my type of storytelling, and that's probably why I love it so much, because it's just not the type of storyteller that I am. Like that's like, to me, that's like the greatest level of what you can do in Hollywood, that type of storytelling, like the Tim Burton, Del Toro, that kind of stuff. It's just like, it's their world as soon as the movie comes on,
Yeah.
And you're in it now.
And especially in this film where it's basically two worlds. It's post-Civil War Spain and the Labyrinth. And you don't, I felt like up until the end, you don't question whether the two are separate.
Mm-hmm.
Like you believe that this is real. Even with the grasshoppers that also work as the fairies, and even though it's 2006 CGI, and you could, especially if you're watching on let's say like a 4K television or whatever, or a high definition television where it does look kind of wonky, you still believe it's there. Which was like why, it was a good choice to seldom use the CGI. And you could even tell while watching it that he did blend the CGI with its practicals when it was needed. You know, especially with the frog. I think the frog, you could tell that the frog itself was mostly CGI, but once you killed the frog it morphs into CGI to practical. So it was pretty damn good.
So a few little trivias. Before going into trivia, especially at the beginning, this almost reminded me of Studio Ghibli or Ghibli films.
That is so. It's Spirited Away. I kept getting Spirited Away vibes off of this movie.
Totoro, right? Just like the idea of like going to a new location and there being kind of this mystical kind of thing and stuff like that. That there were a lot of those vibes throughout it. But yeah. So talking about CGI and stuff. For instance, the fawn. I was thinking like how are they doing the walking? Is that like CGI or whatever? No. So they constructed a system to where the actor would move, and Doug Jones was able to create the legs moving, and then they digitally removed the actor's legs. So like the fawn walking is an actual kind of like mechanized, thing with just his legs being removed. And it says that, Doug Jones had to memorize his lines in Spanish, which he doesn't speak, as well as Ofelia's, because apparently the mechanism in the face of the fawn that would move and all that apparently were so loud he couldn't hear the lines. So he had to just memorize the lines and work off of that. So that's, but it makes it feel real. You know what I mean? If it was just like CGI, 2006 CGI, it would, just would feel flat. That's what a lot of movies from the early 2000s and some of the Star Wars, they feel flat because you have a real person and then you just have like this weird kind of, that you don't get the dimensions in it.
Absolutely not. And like even with like the fawn became much more real to me when he scorned Ofelia for eating the grapes, because he was a very welcoming mystical creature that you felt like could do no wrong. But as soon as he felt betrayed, he was just angry, and you could even tell in the eyes, like whatever puppetry they did with the eyes, you sense the disappointment and the anger from the fawn. And that was really good.
I mean, it was. Even the animatronics was well acted. Sorry, my dog just came up my headset. The one thing I think Jason was interested. It says that Del Toro gave up his entire salary, including back end points.
Oh shit! What, to get the movie made?
Yeah.
Or like to he put it back, like he invested it back into the movie? Is that what you're saying? Or he
It says he gave it up. Like I think he didn't, wherever he got the money from, the studio or whatever, it seems like he just decided, hey, I want this movie to be made. So yeah.
And then he went on to help out with the Harry Potter movies and make that money back.
Yeah. His movies have been like that. It's like he's gotten into debt or he has made absolutely nothing. Then he's like, all right, here, make this. I was just reading a little bit about how Hellboy, how they actually got Ron Perlman and all that. And just that was another movie where I guess for years he was trying to make it. And he was like, Ron Perlman is going to be Hellboy. And nobody wanted to make it. And it wasn't until after Blade 2 that did really well, and that he had also Ron Perlman in it, that Blade 2 did so well, and people were like, what film do you want to do? And he's like, Hellboy, and Ron Perlman has to be in it. So, I mean, his whole career, especially in the US, has been a lot of like, no. And he's like, I'll just do it anyway. And they're like, hey, what do you want to do? I want to do this. And then, no. So, it's it's a really interesting career.
Well, he did what he could do to make his true art, which you gotta really give him props for, because I don't think anybody could imagine the original two Hellboys
without Ron Perlman. I can't imagine someone else doing that. And like Pan's Labyrinth, like if he had to make any other sort of like compromise that didn't involve sacrificing his own pay, I'm sure the movie would have been greatly affected. So like, like it produced really great results.
Yeah.
And he now translates all his movies, all the captions, all the subtitles.
That's
because he was very upset with how some of his earlier films were, I guess, dubbed. Well, not dubbed. Well, maybe even dubbed, but just like the subtitles that now. So for Pan's Labyrinth and other movies, like he's the one that translates it.
Which is funny because we've talked about it in past movies where we could tell that the English is so much different from what's actually being said. And I didn't question it, actually, for this film. So that's, like, it does make a difference, you know? Like, have someone, like, what did the words mean to them?
Right.
Especially if they actually do know, you know, different languages.
That's always the issue, right? Do you translate it literal? Or do you try to translate the idea? And those are sometimes end up being different, which is apparently a huge thing for Japanese people trying to translate Trump. They're such a very calm, you know, like they're very honorable and all that. So it's like, its translations to Japanese are already extremely hard with the English language. So then it's like, a literal translation of Trump is just going to be a mouthful and make no sense? Or do you try to somehow try to figure out what the image he's trying to get across will be in Japanese?
That's so crazy. Oh, do you guys have anything else to discuss about? Because I'm going to be quite honest, I totally lost what else I wanted to ask about, and we kind of delve already into detail some of the stuff that I really wanted to like get into just naturally. So do you guys have anything else you want to add, or maybe perhaps like a favorite scene, or like about the cinematography, the look? We already kind of went over the look to death, to be quite honest.
Favorite scene of the movie is the very end, the reveal, you know, the final blow, if you will. That's my favorite scene of the movie, because that's the one that, you know, the first time I saw it, my jaw was just on the ground, like, wow. You know,
this is no Hollywood ending.
Yeah, it kind of blew me away. It just like, I just didn't see it coming. Like, I can't believe that just happened. What did I just watch? Like, you know, it was just, it was something special. To me, it made the whole movie special because I'd never seen anything like this. You know, and honestly, I don't think there still is anything else quite like this. You know, the closest thing would be another Del Toro movie, right?
That might be your R-rated right there.
What's that?
Right there. The little girl at the very end of the movie.
Oh yeah, that's an R rating. You can't kill kids, man.
I mean, they fucking killed her in the beginning of the movie. We saw what ended up happening to her. It starts off with Ofelia lying down, like
it's like the little epilogue
after she got shot.
At the beginning?
Yeah, that's how the movie starts.
She's in the car. Did I miss something?
I think so. Like right before it shows the car, it starts with the narrator talking about the princess, right?
Right.
And it kind of refers to Ofelia being that princess.
Right.
But it literally starts with her bleeding near the hole of the labyrinth, and then the camera goes. It's the film. They shoot it literally in reverse. You see her bleeding, but then the film is reversed, and you see the blood going back into her, and you see what's in the world of the labyrinth, supposedly. And then it fades.
You guys watch this on Netflix?
I watched this. My buddy has a copy of the film, so I watched it on his.
Did you watch it on Netflix?
I saw it on Netflix.
How did I miss that? I must have been grabbing a drink or something because I don't remember that at all. But I remember the whole narration and all that, and maybe that's why I was like.
Maybe you were looking at your phone.
not my phone, but I was grabbing snacks or something, and I was just hearing it. So I just heard the
Yeah.
narration,
Hmm.
and didn't think about that. Oh wow, yeah. Whoops. Totally missed that this time around.
It's an interesting way to start a movie, especially when the ending is so impactful. And I'm sure people who watched it for the first time, they were hoping after they got to see who this little girl was, like, maybe she's okay. Maybe she'll be okay.
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah.
my favorite scene, I feel like we're backtracking a bit. It is the fawn scolding her because like she is such in a down place at that moment, and even me watching this again like the third time around, I know how the film ends. I know that you know what happens in the third act, but the way that happened, like you feel like Ophelia might be losing her innocence or losing her belief in magic after the passing of her mom. So you don't even know if the fawn's gonna come back, you know. And so it's such like a down place to be in, and it's such a powerful scene for me. Whereas
I
like,
think
wow,
of my favorite, the lines are great, like I said, like from ending lines, but the Mercedes singing, or better yet, humming, right? Like,
mm,
what movies? Like, oh, can you? It's like, I have a song, I don't remember the words. And it's like, oh, just hum it. Like, just like you are writing the movie, and you can put the lyrics, but you make your character be like, I don't know the words,
yeah,
and I guess because that's me a lot of the times. I don't remember. I'm not great with songs and the words,
mm-hmm.
so I know maybe like three words, and then I just know the tone or whatever. And so the fact that that kind of humming that she would do of that song, and it came back at the very end when she's like with Ophelia, and then her
Mm-hmm.
voice cracks. I think that was, to me, like, I was like, that
Yeah, it was
that's probably my favorite, of just like how well, like, that little moment was done and portrayed. And I yeah.
and it was a very powerful moment at the end too, because I almost completely forgot about her wanting to hear about the lullaby. And I think that lullaby, just the humming from
Yeah.
like the soundtrack, I think it's like if you like just Google it, it's one of those like scenes from the film or audio tracks from the movie that people search almost the most.
Oh really?
Next to the Pale Man scene, it was Mercedes lullaby.
Huh. That's awesome. Yeah, Doug Jones for the Pale Man scene had to look out of the nose of the.
Yeah, Doug Jones is dope.
Oh man, but he knows how to embody those creatures. Like it's that man like that. I know like he's a good. He's just great physically wise. He's just great.
Just the idea, also, like, yeah, learn Spanish, like
Right?
memorize Spanish, and memorize the other characters' Spanish, because you aren't going to be able to hear anything, and maybe not even see.
Mm,
Yeah, it's a great movie. Yeah, I feel like it's again one of these movies, like, I don't want to break too much of it, because if people haven't watched it, you should watch it.
for
But it's
sure.
like, I feel like we could break down every scene by scene, kind of, and just like, we haven't really talked about any of the other rebel fighters, right? Other than the stutter
Mm.
and stuff like that. But yeah, there's so much, yeah, that can be talked about. Okay, my last thing, Mercedes. One of my okay, one of my this when the captain's finally kind of like about to interrogate her or whatever, and she's just like, you never saw me as a person. That kind of interaction of like,
Hmm.
that's, you think you're so smart or whatever, and then he's kind of like, so my downfall or whatever, my soverio, I think is what he said. But it's just that interaction of just like,
Yeah.
because it's so common in so many different cultures of like the help is the help, you know, and it's like if you just show respect, you know, like it was so cringeworthy when he's like, taste the coffee's burnt, right? Just
Mhm.
like these small
Yeah.
little nuggets that are throwaways, but they have so much meaning behind them. And
And
like
he,
her, you know, her being like, you didn't see me as a person, so it was so easy for me to get close to you, type of thing. I was
and
just like,
and even when he admits like, yeah, I suppose that's a fault. He takes it such a fucking like asshole, egotistical way. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I guess I'm such a BA. Whatever, that makes sense.
Mhm.
Like, what a
yeah.
fucking dick.
And again, right? It's like he turned his back to her because he's again assuming I'm, you know, A, she's a woman, B, she's a help. I caught her. Like, I'm just gonna do my torture spiel, which I thought was great. Like, it's the same thing. Like, military personnel, like dictators, they all have a script. They all have like, you know. So it's like, okay, this is my torture spiel. So anyway, I don't know. Anything else, guys? I really like this movie. Probably not gonna watch it again because I can't watch that captain. He's such a
Yeah.
horrible human being. Um, yeah, the captain is worse than the pale face that eats.
For sure.
Hmm.
He has a higher to what we saw on screen, a higher body count too. So I suppose I guess we should we're close to that time anyhow. I guess to final thoughts.
My final thought on Pan's Labyrinth is that I will watch this movie again one day, because it's so fantastical, and there's no other place to see anything quite like it. Just like I'll probably watch what's the other one with the water monster again?
Shape of
I'll
Water.
watch. Yeah, I'll watch it again. I don't need to see it right away or anything, but this is the kind of movie that you easily recommend to people, or if it comes up, you're like, oh, you have to see it. It really is one of those have to
Yeah.
sees. You know what I mean? I think if anyone who ever asked about it, I would say you have to see it. Uh, yeah, I would definitely watch it again in the future. I would go through this guy's entire catalog. I haven't seen Pacific Rim yet, so maybe that's the next one I watch. But
I really enjoyed it. I actually was gonna the movie that I'm picking. I'll just jump. Or anyway, finish. You were gonna say, Jason.
oh no, you can go say what you're saying.
Uh, so the movie I'm picking is Kronos, which is his first feature length film. I haven't seen it, but I heard a lot about it, and it's also the first film he did with Ron Perlman, and you know, so it's also kind of a horror type of movie. So, and
Okay.
they added Kronos to the Criterion Collection, which I think is
Oh, that's
just
super
goes to
Very
cool.
chill.
just goes to show like his level of filmmaking.
Steve
And
also hates when you reveal your picks to anyone but him, so he's gonna have a fit.
you know, someone probably realized he was hanging out at the parking lot at a bank in Puerto Rico at 10 p.m. and they probably
I'm here.
good. Anyway, so yeah. Final thought is, Steve, you should watch this movie.
Yeah,
Uh,
Steve, we would recommend that you watch this movie. You're gonna really enjoy it.
if your internet connection is good and you have a phone, just look it up right there. Stay over at the bank. It's only 2 hour movie.
Hmm.
Uh,
Was
yeah,
it 2 hours?
yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, most of the films we've been watching has been 2 hours. Anyway, so yeah, I would recommend that. I would definitely watch it again, but again, it would be a long time. I would actually watch Shape of Water sooner and
Yeah, me
maybe
too.
even more times. He does great stuff musically also.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yes.
I feel like there's this progression in his films of the ones that I've seen that it's just like him topping the previous movie that he's done
Hmm.
of just like in every sense of the way. It's like, oh, you like that monster? I got a monster for you. Oh, you like that music? I got some music for you. Oh, you like, you know, so definitely recommend this movie. We'll watch it at some point down in my life. again. And yeah, Guillermo del Toro.
You guys are gonna hate me. I actually did not like Shape of Water.
Oh no.
And when it won Best Picture, I was like, "That's the one." That one, okay.
Can I change? I changed my movie to Shape of Water.
Oh man, no, man. I mean, it's not a bad movie, but my partner loved it, and I was like, man, I don't hate it.
You don't have a soul. I watched that movie and I was like, "This is gonna win Best Picture." It's been like one of the only two times that I've been like, it was that one and Moonlight where I was just like, "This is Best Picture." That's it.
And with Moonlight, it came with a twist too.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh
Anyway,
God.
but go on.
Okay.
So you hate good film.
Oh my gosh. My final thought.
You have no taste. Okay. Let me ask you this.
Oh my
since we're
gosh,
taking
go
over. What did your partner think of Pan's Labyrinth? Had she seen it?
You know, it was terrible. She never saw it, and so I was excited to watch it with her because this was the first time that we were going to watch a film that she hadn't seen, that I had seen.
Okay.
But she got sick.
Oh no.
Yeah, so she didn't get to watch it.
Did you put some mandrake in
That milk must have fucking stunk. Ew. By the way, Ofelia added the font said 2 drops of blood. She added like a fucking gallon of blood in that damn bowl.
Well, she also ate those freaking grapes.
Oh god. Oh my gosh.
All right, so
let's not rag on the girl. Even though I felt the same way when she ate those fucking grapes. It was like, you had one job, you fucking. Any hoodle. I definitely loved and enjoyed this movie. This reviewing of it, my attention was focused more on other aspects I wasn't able to appreciate on my first watch. So I do believe like this does have reviewable value to it, especially since, you know, like it does hold up very well 2 separate stories into one. And yeah, totally. Like if you are a fan of fantasy, you are definitely gonna love this movie. Hopefully you're chill with murder and blood because there's plenty of it. So be forewarned. When people get murked, it's very merciless, and when people get cut, it's fucking deep. But anywho, like that, it's a top tier movie. I fucking loved it, and you know what? Shape of Water is if Elliot fucked E.T. Okay, let's just say it like that.
Oh shit.
Not even at all. You're wrong. Where's the water in ET?
Yeah.
Also, if you're not a fan of fascism, you'll like this movie.
Absolutely. Fuck.
And I'm gonna say fascism is bad one more time for those in the back.
Fuck the fascists. Des, you want to leave us out? I know that Dino kind of spoiled it for the next week, but you want to outro us out?
I don't know if I'm next week.
I think you are. Or is Jason's pick next week?
It's actually Jason's pick, so Paraguayans want to lead everything, but it's actually
no. You guys
Did
are
you
putting
get my-
words into my mouth.
Did
I
you get my
just said
text
that
message,
was
Steve?
the one. I was just saying
I did.
that's the movie I'm picking. So go on, Steve.
Well, it doesn't matter because it's not your turn. So Paraguayans need to go to the back of the line.
Where they belong.
Oh my god.
Go and move your siete cajas, motherfucker.
I will. I'll be back, and I'll have one caja.
So Jason can go ahead and reveal his movie.
So for next week, we will be watching along the themes of horror and Halloweeny time. We're going to be watching Byzantium, starring Saoirse Ronan.
How do you say that name?
Saoirse
I'm
Ronan.
gonna mess that up so many times.
Is she the one in Lady Bird?
That's
Yep.
Lady Bird. Yeah.
I fucking
This is
hated
a
Lady Bird.
this is
And
a vampire
Brooklyn,
movie.
And I keep wanting to say her name is Saoirse. It's not at all.
Saoirse. And you have to say it like that. Apparently, it's not Saoirse. It's Saoirse.
Well, if it is her name, then I feel like it's only right to say it correctly.
Well, there's a whole video on YouTube about it. I think, Dino, did you show me that?
Maybe.
Anyways, we'll talk about
We
it
were
next week.
watching all movies that she was in, right? It was her and the other redhead were in like all the movies of 2017 or 2018.
That sounds about right.
Christopher Robin, that guy.
Oh, yeah, that was Margot Robbie.
No. But the guy.
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Glenn-
Oh, Domhnall Gleeson.
Yeah. I feel like the two of them were like in every movie that year.
Yeah, they're killer.
What,
Well,
is that?
hopefully-
What is it called?
Byzantium.
That sounds like Element, like it's in the table of elements.
Byzan.
I see.
BYZAN.
2012 movie.
That's right. Vampire flick. Halloween time.
Woo!
Okay. Sounds fun, guys. All right. Is that it for now?
I think that's it for now.
That's it. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Ciao. Ciao.
Hey, I'm Jason Echoes, and thank you for watching the Oedemolo Network. There's some videos here. Watch one of them, and then you can subscribe to the network, and you can see more good stuff.